cut this stuff in. We can be heard. We're live. Okay, we're audible. Everything's good. Okay. You want to go ahead and get started?
Yeah.
Well, first, let's pray. Yeshua, I pray that you would bless this time. I pray that people would be equipped through the reading of your word. Help us to understand it. Arrange us in light of this. We trust you, Yeshua, and we don't just want the reading of words. It's meaningless without power. We want the one that these words are pointing to. All these are talking about you, Yeshua, the Messiah. So we just pray that you'd empower us. Ask in your name. Amen. Okay, so we're in Exodus. I think it's Va'era is the name of this week's parsha, and it starts in Exodus chapter 6, verse 2, and it goes all the way through the end of 9. We'll just see where we get, and we'll have conversation, see where it takes us as we go through the Torah. Okay, so you can read verse 2, and we'll talk about it.
And God spoke to Moses, and he said to him, I am Yahweh.
Okay. Vaydaber Elohim el Moshe vayomer elav ani Yahweh. So speaking here with Moses, God announces himself as Yahweh, and we're about to see that this is a special portion of the Torah, because this is where Yahweh explains how the giving of his name was something peculiar to Moses. Moses was the first to receive his name, or to hear this name, or to learn it. You'll see. Let's read the next verse 3.
And I appeared to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob as God Shaddai, but by my name Yahweh I was not known to them.
Yeah. In Hebrew, Va'era el Abraham el Yitzchak el Yaakov. So I appeared, or made myself visually seen. I caused myself to be seen, showed myself to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. But El Shaddai, in the name, when I appeared to them, in the name El Shaddai. Ushemi Yahweh lo nodati lahim, but I was not known to them. In my name Yahweh, not I was being known to them. And so there's this claim here. Now, this causes problems for the rabbis. They try to counteract this and say that it's a contradiction, that the fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, did call God Yahweh, partly because in the Torah you have them calling on the name of Yahweh and this kind of thing. But no, I think it's pretty clear, and I would say that the Pashat reading, the clear reading of the text would be that the fathers didn't know God as Yahweh. And the reason that we see the fathers using that name is because Moses wrote the Torah. So he puts it in their mouth. Because again, the Torah is written with a peculiar function in mind. It's not written to be a book of remembrance for the fathers. It's written well after the fathers for post-Exodus Israelites, for them to consume. So it reveals God's desires, essentially. Like it's a work. The Torah is a giant work whose purpose is to arrange the sons of Israel who have escaped Egypt into a nation that's ready to share space with God. So that's the function of these oracles. And so because they're the ones who are going to receive it, and it's to their benefit, it makes sense to me that Moses would say, I'll put Yahweh in the mouth, just to make it explicit. I'd said to Gideon today, my son, his name is Gideon John Jordan, I'd said, Gideon, imagine if you started going by the name John, your middle name instead of your first name, and then you went to Israel and they called you Yochanan, because that's how they say John. And everybody there says Yochanan. And when I show them a picture of you, they say, yeah, that's Yochanan. Okay. And then in America, I show them a picture and say, yeah, that's Gideon. Okay. Or which one's lying? Which is neither, right? Like, that's a silly thought. And so the idea that just because no one would ever heard the sound Yochanan until Gideon adopts the name John and goes to Israel, this kind of thing, whatever, it doesn't mean the name's not true. And it doesn't mean it's talking about the same person. But I'll tell you what, if I'm telling stories from Gideon's childhood before he ever went to Israel, to people in Israel, I'll say, Yochanan said this when he was a little boy, and Yochanan did that. And Yochanan, even though when he was here, he didn't go by that. He went by Gideon.
Right.
And so in a similar way, I think Moshe just uses the name Yahweh just to be explicit for the people of Israel. But no, it seems like they didn't know the name of God. And I think that's important for us as disciples to that distinction. We need to maintain that distinction. We don't need to, we need to understand that they never knew the name before, because suddenly there's this pattern that opens up that's really peculiar for us to help us to recognize the coming of the Messiah, that when the people of God are in bondage, in exile, and they need to be restored, when they've lost access to the name of God, the presence of God, God will send someone with a new name, with good news of deliverance, with signs and wonders to accomplish redemption and escape. There's this pattern. And so what we can say is this isn't made up in the Gospels. This is already in the Torah, right? And both of the things I said apply to Moses and to Yeshua. So that's verse. Do you have any questions about that? Or any kind of like?
No, that makes sense.
And it's real. I think it's a really useful way to walk people through the gospel, to explain. If you want to, a lot of times people are open to story. They're more open to story,
right,
than they are open to just like, let me tell you the state that you're in. Let me explain your situation. Let me, they're more receptive and more able to take in a story than they are able to take in explanations and diagnosis and this kind of stuff. And so rather than, you could technically, this is important because it's easier to command someone to tell a story than it is to command someone to diagnose and then to get the person to understand the diagnosis. So you literally, to share the gospel, you could literally just retell the story of the Exodus. Okay. And you could say, now that's you. Like, this is like, you were in bondage and slavery, no access to the God that you actually came from. And you had evil power that was over you, that was a combination of a human throne and a demonic throne and an unseen throne. And God raised up one of his own people, who is one of you, okay, and gave him a new name to take, so that you would know who this God is. And he brings the message of God's name. And he doesn't just come with talk, because that would be cheap. He comes with sign and with wonder. And he comes to set you free out of your slavery and your bondage. And he does it through these powerful signs and wonders, and this ultimate sign that breaks the back of the power, Passover. And this is, so this go, I mean, there's a lot of, you could dive in deep, but the point is you could say it's a lot easier to say to an immature evangelist or a young evangelist, hey, just tell them the story of the Exodus and then tell them how that is fulfilled, than it is to say, let me get down to your life and then take all the nuggets of the gospel and, correlate it. It's just an easier way to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
So 4?
Yep, we're on 4.
And I not only established my covenant with them to give to them the land of Canaan, the land of their sojournings, in which they dwelt as aliens.
V'gam makamti et briti itam letet lahem. So, and also I made stand the covenant, my covenant with them, to give to them the land, Canaan, et Aretz, Mugurehem, the land of their sojourning, which they sojourned in it. So it's explicit that the land of their sojourning was actually, you think residents are in a place that's a good land,
Yeah.
They were sojourners. They did not own the land. It was not actually deeded to them. Does that make sense?
So he's talking about the fathers.
Yes, he's talking about the fathers, exactly. And it's also highlights the fact that Yahweh takes a people who don't have ownership to be his own people. So he takes them when they're landless. He takes them when they're propertyless. He takes them when they're seedless, when they're heirless. Right, that's Abraham.
Yeah.
And we read the story of Abraham as like, oh, this, great power, great wealth, but all that's liquid assets and it means nothing. And a man without an heir, all that will be divided like that.
Right.
And so, but God just reminding Moses of this great story. He's taking Abraham and promising the fathers. He's got this big promise that it's Canaan, it's the land of Canaan. The land of their sojourning is going to give. He's going to give the land that they were sojourners in as theirs. He'll give it to them. It's his covenant. Okay.
But also I myself heard the groaning of the Israelites, whom the Egyptians are making to work, and I remembered my covenant.
Okay. V'gam ani shamati et na'akat b'nei Yisrael asher Mitzrayim. So, and also it emphasizes this. It's actually kind of beautiful. In Hebrew, it could have just said v'gam shamati, but it says v'gam ani shamati, like, and also I heard the groaning of the sons of Israel, b'nei Yisrael, asher Mitzrayim, avdim, which Egypt, causing them to be slaves or slaving them, but as core at Vriti, and I remembered my covenant.
So what could it have been rather than and I remember?
Yeah, it's just a neat little flavor in Hebrew where in Hebrew you don't need the pronoun if you already have the verb. Because it's shamati, so it's already conjugated, so you know it's the first person. But the fact that Yahweh says ani again is emphasizing, hey, I heard you. I heard you.
So the verb itself would have sufficed.
Yeah,
he
exactly.
also went beyond that.
Yeah, because what he's doing is he's personal. He's personifying the fact that I didn't hear it from somebody else. Your cries reached me.
Right. Okay.
That's the idea. And
what does it mean, remembered? I remember.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, right? Because when people talk about Yahweh, they don't think about this idea that Yahweh is a real person that's engaging with them relationally. So they think of things like omniscience, omnipotence, this kind of thing. So a statement like Eskor at Vriti, and I remember my covenant, that causes them problems. Like, oh, we forgot. I don't think that's what's in view here, because the verb here means to cause to be memorialized, to see the memorial, to recognize it. It's not like Mr. Magoo. Does this make sense? Mr. Magoo in heaven just forgetting stuff.
Yeah.
And then suddenly realizing it.
Yeah, I made this covenant.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It's more like the signpost came before me. It was memorialized in his eye. It's almost like, this, it sounds really weird. This is an abstract thing. If you ever you've heard real sees real?
Yeah.
Okay.
Real
recognize real. It's almost like he's like, and I recognize this is in opposition to this covenant. It's time for me to act. It flashes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay. That is God recognized covenant people.
Yeah, and it's also like it's a sign too. The covenant it means to make a sign. It can literally be like to memorialize is another way to think of that word.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're groaning. Yeah, Yeah, okay, and then he remembers their covenant. Give me 1 second. Sorry. You want to go ahead and read the next verse?
Okay. Therefore, say to the Israelites, I am Yahweh, and I will bring you out from under the forced labor of Egypt, and I will deliver you from their slavery. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great punishments. With great punishments.
Young man. Okay.
So that was 6.
6. Okay. To the sons of Israel, I'm Yahweh. Tell them I'm Yahweh. Say to them I'm Yahweh, and say to them I'm gonna cause you to exit out of or escape out of from under the servitude, the captive servitude of Egypt, and I'm gonna hitzalti. I'm gonna bring you out of, cause you to escape from the Me'abodotam, from their slavery, from Egypt and from their slavery. V'ga'alti etchem, I'm going to redeem you. I'm going to buy you back. V'ga'alti etchem bizroa. So the way I'm going to buy you back, I'm going to redeem you, or buy you back in an arm netuya, in a stretched out arm, and an arm that's outstretched. Part of this idea, this idea of stretching out, it's connected to this idea of stretching out a tent, expanding, that kind of thing. But it's also the idea of an outstretched arm would be like, like,
Oh, okay.
like in great power, ready to smash, I guess, lift it up. Uva shefut. It's interesting that they say punishments, because that's shefet is it's from shafat. It's judgments, acts of judgment.
With great judgment.
Yeah, uva shefatim gedolim, great, large, huge judgments, which is a better word than punishments. It's such a silly. To me, that's a silly translation. Punishments. Here's an example of why I think it's silly. What's the first judgment?
What do you mean?
Well, if he says he's going to do it with great judgments, when in the narrative, what's the first judgment going to be?
Of these.
Yeah,
a sign.
Yeah. I think the first. What's the first sign that? Well, first, just start here. What's the very first sign Moses does in the court of Pharaoh?
Snake.
Yes.
And just staff to a snake.
That's not a punishment. It is a judgment. It's not a punishment. It's a sign of judgment. God has judged them already, and He's demonstrated that you will be overcome. Your thrones, whatever you can conjure and come up with, will be devoured by what I conjure.
Right.
And in that sense, it's a great wonder, and it's a sign, and it is a judgment. But who's being punished?
Right.
How's that a punishment? I think that word punishment is being used just because in English the plagues are pretty nasty and scary.
Got you. So they're using the word. Okay.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and in some senses they are punishments. They are punishments.
Right.
But it just doesn't. That's not the Hebrew word. That's not the word that was used in Hebrew, so I don't know.
Well, judgment too seems more full, right? Because in some of them, well, in all of them, the Israelites are in the land but aren't affected.
It's not the case. They seem to be affected by the first few. They're affected. There comes a point where he says, from now on, the land of Goshen won't be affected.
Right. Okay.
But one of the ones that definitely would affect all of them, would the Nile.
Right. So then but if it's judgment, then there is still room for some to.
I could be wrong about that, but I think the Nile would affect all of them. Sorry, say that again.
If it's used judgment, then it can still be said judgment passed over. But when the land of Goshen is exempted, punishment didn't pass over the land of God, right? So one judge grace, one judge.
Sure. So you're saying that punishment doesn't work as well because of the distinction?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the whole thing passes. It passes over all of them.
Yeah. That's true. And I guess you could make that argument by saying
some are just not punished, or not punished, but you know what I'm saying. Some are not.
Yeah. You're okay. Yeah. I mean, he's going to buy them back. He's going to redeem them in an outstretched arm, and to the degree that this activity will look like making a name for himself and showing himself. You're right. It's forever. It's for the benefits of the whole land,
right.
But the punishments don't fall on Israel when they're in Goshen. So,
right.
Okay. Okay. Do you have any more questions? Do you want to expand on that a little bit more at all?
No.
Okay. All right. Verse 7.
And I will take you as my people, and I will be your God, and you will know that I am Yahweh, your God, who brought you out from under the forced slavery of Egypt.
Okay. And that's 7.
So even from the beginning, he makes it clear.
What do you mean? And then from the beginning, he makes it clear.
Well, I mean, even before the signs and wonders start for them, he makes it clear to him, I will take you as my people. I will be your God. You will know that I'm Yahweh, your God.
Yeah. Okay, you mean, but it's like he wants that message to be carried to them before the signs. Yeah, he does. It's not going to work out great, but he does want that.
Right.
It needs to be what the good news. That this is partly the good news. V'lakachti etchem, which is in Hebrew, this can mean. This is a word that tends to be used for not just take it can be used for pick up an object and take it, but it has a peculiar usage that shows up a lot in the Torah and in Hebrew all over the Old Testament. It means to take a wife.
Oh.
So you don't say
take in the hand.
Even the book of Exodus.
Take along with himself.
Well, no, it just means to. So I'll give an example in the book of Exodus. It's Exodus 2 verse 1. Vayelech ish mi beit Levi, And a man from the house of Levi came, Vayikech et bat Levi, and he took a daughter of Levi. That's all it says. What it means is he married her.
Oh, okay.
That's when Amram took Jochebed.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So the idea here that he's going to, V'lakachti echem, I'm going to take you to me, li. V'lakachti echem li. So Yahweh says, I'm going to take you to me, le'am, for a people. That's one way that you, and this is one of the earliest examples of it, that peoplehood in a covenant, that Israel's relationship to Yahweh as a people is already being cast as a marriage. Okay. Which makes sense why in the prophets they pick up that picture and they talk about it like, hey, when you were this decrepit, weak woman in slavery, I came and cleaned you off, and I washed you. I took you as a bride to myself, and I married you. And the understanding of the Exodus is like Yahweh taking Israel as a bride to join Himself to her, to be one with her. I'll be your God, you'll be my people. Le'am, I'll take you to myself for my people. And I'll be to you for God, or as God. Okay. And this is what's interesting. I think this is a good point to highlight. When people say, when they think about God, okay, Yahweh as God, just because God is the creator of all, doesn't mean you can call Yahweh your God. That's not how it works in the Torah. The way that you can say, you're my God, or He's your God, okay, is that He's with you, that He lives with you, that He visits you and He joins you and He takes you to Himself in a local capacity. This idea that God is my God, even though I have no contact with Him, I'm nowhere near Him, that's not in the Bible. It's just a made-up idea, and it's actually made up from a lot of it. It's more of a philosophical statement than it is a biblical statement. And the story of Scripture tells us that for us to say God's our God, He's got to be there with us, and He's got to live with us locally. He's got to make that setup happen. And the second part of verse 7, Bidatem ki ani Yahweh, and then you will know that I am Yahweh Elohechem. You will know that I am Yahweh your God. Hamotzi echem mitachet sevilot Mitzrayim, the taker outer of you, the one taking you out from under the kind of slave servitude of Egypt, this burden, this kind of labor-oriented burden. It's servitude. It's the job of carriers. It's shitty job work. Okay, verse 8.
And I will bring you to the land that I swore to give to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, and I will give it to you as a possession. I am Yahweh.
Yes, this is kind of a cool thing. Beheviti echem el aretz asher. So I'm gonna take you to the land which, and it's funny, he says, the land which nasati et yadi, to the land which I lifted up my hand to give to you. So when it says swear, it literally in Hebrew is I lifted up my hand.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't use the verb swear. It just says I lifted up my hand.
Right. That verb, that's the same one as
Nasati?
establish?
No, nasati is the same verb as lift off, forgive, or bear up.
What about the one where, there was one where when Cain is holding the rock over Abel, it's the same verb.
Oh, wow. Is it?
I established or something. I don't remember which word it is.
It's when Cain's holding a rock over him?
Yeah.
Cain Lama.
He raised up something and came down on his head.
Vayakam Cain al Hevel Achiv Vayahargehu. Vayakam, stand, establish the covenant. Okay, that is the same word as Cain. So when he said it earlier, we already read it. He said a few verses back. Where did he say it? Yeah, verse 4.
Making my
Vagam hakamti at 3t.
Established, right?
Yeah, established. That's the same word.
Oh, gotcha.
So it means to stand or to cause to stand. Yeah. Vayakam Kain al Hevel. That's interesting. It is the same. It's the same root. Vayakam Kain al Hevel Achiv. Vayahar Gehu. And he killed him. Okay, so in this. Okay, so then they'll know that I'm your God. We're in verse 8. Yeah. So he lifts his hand, the land that I lifted my hand, to give to you, La Abraham, La Yitzchak, La Yaakov, to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. V'natati ota lachem, and I give it, and I will give it to you as an inheritance. I am Yahweh.
Okay. So why? Okay. So two questions. Why does it say Yahweh? Isn't that I am?
What does he say, Yahweh?
I am. I am. Like, what is that? How is it saying I am Yahweh? Does that make sense?
How does it say I am Yahweh? What do you mean?
Like, doesn't Yahweh mean I am that I am?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Well, I mean, his name is a shortened. I think the Hebrew. First off, the etymology of Yahweh's name is very tricky because he actually says Ehyeh, I will be, who I will be. But I think Yahweh is He is the one. He will be is another way to say that.
Okay.
It becomes his name. It's an actual pronoun and name, like Tony or Josh, whatever. I am Yahweh.
Yeah.
And know this name.
Okay.
Which is interesting because the revelation of his name is directly tied to rescue from slavery and peoplehood and a marriage union to him and a lamb together. The revelation of his name is tied to these three things.
Okay.
Which is why these are three really strong examples as to why Yeshua is Yahweh.
Right.
The rescuing us from the bondage of sin, taking us to himself as a bride, and then promising us the inheritance of heaven, the renewed heavens and earth as a residence with him.
Okay, and then so that word possession is actually inheritance.
Yeah,
better understood as inheritance.
It's the end of Morashah 10. Yeah, it's acquisition, property, possession. I think it comes from Yerash, to acquire, to take.
So then, I'm just trying to think about that word because I don't really.
Well, it's quite different from sojourn. It does have a relationship to the other words in the beginning, the land of their sojourning. We have words like refugee, temporary resident,
Right.
Visa worker, green card.
Right.
None of these words say permanent. None of these words say property. Okay. All these words say fragile. All these words say temporary status. Right. And so he is saying, I'm going to essentially, it will be yours, and you will give it to your children, who will give it to their children, to their children. Like, it will be your property. You won't be sojourners. You won't be temporary.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's partly the idea of permanent possession versus sojourning. Does that make sense?
Stability for them.
Yeah, and not there will be no middleman between them and the land. Right.
Okay.
Like right now, there's all kinds of nations there.
Right.
There's the Hittites, and we've seen them interact with, Abraham in certain ways, and there's Canaanites of various sorts.
Right.
Yeah.
And Moses spoke thus to the Israelites, but they did not listen to Moses because of discouragement and because of hard work.
Yeah, I have a sod reading for this because I was thinking about this. It's heavy. Vaydaber Moshe Kinel B'nai Yisrael. So Moses speaks thusly. He says, he relays the message as it was given to him to the sons of Israel. And V'lo Shoma'u Moshe. They didn't listen to Moses. Mikotze Ruach. From it means like a shortened spirit, tiny spirit, diminished spirit, weakened, just crushed in spirit. And not really crushed, but it's this idea of smallness, this weakness, this incredible weakness in spirit from crushing or heavy, enormously heavy slavery. And so we have to know, when I think as a sod reading, it's great to have your message right, and it's great to take the message directly from Yahweh. But you can't expect that. Oh, well, if I just say it, I didn't get the response I wanted. Let me just say it differently, or let me say it harder. That's kind of something I will do. Let me say it more tenaciously or more zealously. It is actually possible that even with the best news possible, directly relayed from a trustworthy source, Yahweh Himself, that when people hear your message, they're too crushed in spirit, they're too weakened to even take it in or believe it. They're too oppressed. There is such a thing that like they're too where they're too oppressed to take in a message, which is why I don't think they're not being ridiculed by the text here. They're not being chastised by Moses or God here. It's just a statement of fact, and it's okay, I think, to a degree, because just like the New Covenant says, when Paul writes, the kingdom of God is not a matter of talk; it's a matter of power. And so he brings this faithful message and it's trustworthy, but they can't even bring themselves to hear him and hear this message, this hope. I mean, imagine that. Imagine somebody saying, I mean, it's as absurd as going into a concentration camp and saying, "You have a new car." He's going to them and saying, "You've got a land coming, and God's a real person. You haven't, I know you haven't interacted with him directly for 400 or so years, whatever. But now he's here and he sent me. And he's going to give you a new land. He's going to rescue you from slavery." And they're just like, they can't hear it. And so they need sign and wonder. They need deeds. They need action, which is going to be coming. And so we should, the Sod reading in part for us is, yes, bring a faithful message from God to people, but also understand your audience, understand how broken they are, understand how crushed they are, understand how weak they are. Yeah.
And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, "Go speak to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and let him release the Israelites from his land."
Vaydaber Yahweh el Moshe lemor, and he spoke to Moses, saying, "Vaydaber el Paro melech Mitzrayim, go and talk to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt." And that's another thing too. This is another sub-reading. Pharaoh is a king. I know that Paro is their word for their ruler, a peculiar word, but he's spoken of as a melech, as a king of the land. And in a way, this good news of this good message, this good news is. Here's a weird thing, okay? Like, in a sense, the relationship to the king of Egypt is one of slavery, right? And in a peculiar way, God's solution is to make them his slaves, not to remove slavery as a concept. And so, so Moses' good news is the good news of a king. Yahweh is a king. And it's news of kingdom. God comes as a king, and he comes to oppose this earthly king that's holding you in bondage. Okay. So we're in American China, but Yishlach et b'nei Yisrael, and tell him he will send the sons of Israel from his land. It's an imperative. You will send the sons of Israel from your land. Tells him to go tell him that. And you see how Moses responds here. Yeah. Verse 12.
And Moses spoke before Yahweh, saying, "Look, the Israelites do not listen to me. And how will Pharaoh listen to me, since I am a poor speaker?"
Yeah. And so Moses doesn't immediately go to Pharaoh. He doesn't talk to Pharaoh. Instead, he talks to Yahweh and talks back to Yahweh. Vaydaber Moshe lifnei Yahweh lemor, and he says to Yahweh, he talks to Yahweh, saying, "Look, or behold him." Like, look at this. Okay, behold. Behold, the sons of Israel, lo shomeu Eli. Okay, the sons of Israel didn't listen to me. Okay, and this is like an argument probably from minor to major. They are slave people, and they didn't listen to me. How much less will Pharaoh listen to me? I'm not able to. And he gives his reason. He gives this very similar reason when he argues. He says, how is he going to hear me? The Eich Yishma'eni. How's he going to hear me, Pharaoh? How's Pharaoh going to hear me? And I am a rel sifatayim, which is a very vivid word picture. He is, which is not a pretty picture. But it's a very powerful way to demonstrate how little he thought of his ability to talk or communicate it. Similar to, and this is a graphic picture, but it's like an uncircumcised penis. He's drawing the conclusion that he has foreskins on his lips, like he's unable to talk and incapable. So that's his argument. How does it go?
And Yahweh spoke to Moses and to Aaron, and he commanded them to go to the Israelites and to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to bring the Israelites out from the land of Egypt.
Yeah. So it seems the concession is include Aaron. Now he may have already said, because earlier on he said he didn't include Aaron. So he's reiterating, look, Aaron's with you. Okay. But he says, by the bear Yahweh, El Moshe el Aharon, Vayitzavim Vayitzavim, command the sons of Israel and to the kind of Israel to bring out the sons of Israel from the land of Egypt. So he just reiterates, doubles down, and does it. And then we end up with this genealogy. I think I'm gonna skip the genealogy and I'll give you a space there to ask any questions about the genealogy you may have, and we can look at that. It's funny. They have a pretty extended Levitical genealogy here, so that's worth noting. They go into great. It seems they go into pretty deep detail about
Zohar and Korah
the
and
sons of when do they transition there? They talked pretty early about Kahat and Merari. Yeah, they talk pretty early about the Levitical line, and we could jump. I guess we could we could leave the genealogy if you want and go to
probably 26.
Okay, 26. You can start there.
It was that Aaron and Moses to whom Yahweh said, "Bring the Israelites out from the land of Egypt according to their divisions."
Okay. Who Aharon? Let's see here. Who Aharon and Moshe Asher Amar Yahweh Layam Hotziu et Bnei Yisrael Me'eretz Mitzrayim. It's just they're doubling down. It's this Moses and Aaron, not some other Moses and Aaron that Yahweh commanded to go and do that. So they're connecting this genealogy, but this is the Moses and Aaron.
And now, according to their divisions, is like this. Well, they hadn't had the priestly class yet.
No, they didn't.
So divisions of the sons of the heads of the family.
Yeah, a lot of this too is going to be post. What do you call this? The timeline for this is messy. They don't include a lot of these. Let's see here. Verse 16. Yeah, none of these guys are there yet, right? The brothers are there. These other ones are there. Yeah, so Kohath. We have what? So what's your question?
By their divisions, like according to their divisions.
Which verse is that? Where
That's at the end of 26.
Oh, sorry. Let me see at the end of 26 here. Who Aharon b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim. Yeah, al tzivotam, according to their divisions, according to their armies, according to their arrangements and their hosts and whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, it could actually be pasted on. That's called like a retroactive. It's kind of anachronistic. It's from the time ahead, pasted back.
Well, okay, because in the line before it says the heads of the families of the Levites according to their clans. So then bring them out of the land of Egypt according to their divisions. So probably heads of the clans, etc. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
They were those who spoke to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, in order to bring the Israelites out from Egypt. It was that Moses and Aaron. So just doubling down again.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was on a certain day Yahweh spoke to Moses in the land of Egypt. And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, I am Yahweh. Speak to Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, all that I am speaking to you. And Moses said before Yahweh, look, I am a poor speaker, and how will Pharaoh listen to me? So just repeating that.
Yeah.
And that poor speaker there is also...
Hey, Moses, Vayomer, and then Moses says, verse 30, Vayomer Moshe lifnei Yahweh, Hanani aril, yep, same word.
Okay.
Behold, ani aril sabatim, my lips are uncircumcised, but eich yishma elai paro, how will you hear me? Same idea.
Going to chapter 7. And Yahweh said to Moses, see, I have made you as a god to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother will be your prophet. Mm-hmm. You will speak all that I will command you.
That's worth thinking about.
Yeah.
Vayomer Yahweh el Moshe, re'eh, see, nataticha Elohim lefaro, va'aharon achicha yehiye neviecha. I have given you as God to Pharaoh. So before Pharaoh's eyes, I've given you, Moses, as God. As a God, okay. And Aaron, your brother, will be your prophet to you.
So then Pharaoh has prophets.
Sorry, Pharaoh has prophets, he does. So you're hearing it as, I'm going to set you up like Pharaoh's a God man, something like this. I don't know. I'm not certain that that's exactly what Moses is doing, or what Yahweh's saying here. I don't think so.
Okay.
I think he is saying it's like Moses will be his and Yahweh's instantiation. Okay, his rep, and the task of speaking the message he now gives to Aaron.
So then,
which is, as by the way, this idea that Moses here, this is very early, he's being commissioned, which take that idea and now correlate it all the way back to Deuteronomy, where it says, we're all the way back in Deuteronomy. Ahead actually, Deuteronomy, where we are now in the narrative, but all the way in Deuteronomy where it says, hey, the days are coming where I'm going to raise up a prophet to replace me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So the days are coming to replace me as a prophet. And it's going to be a brother from among your own people. And the correlation to, why are we going to raise him up this way? What's the rationale for me to raise up? You were scared of me on the mountain. Therefore, this one is coming after me. There's this weird correlation that the prophet is going to be raised up after Moses is a response to Israel's terror at Mount Sinai. And so you have this picture of Yahweh locally terrifying the people with this prophet who goes up into the fire to be with him on the mountain. That picture. He's going to take that same picture and as a basis of it, he's going to raise up a prophet. And they need to listen to his words, and whoever doesn't listen to his words will be cut off from his people. It's a promise of this coming prophet. It gets repeated in the Gospels and John, all over the place. But note that this verse should be factored into that.
Okay.
This verse should be factored into that. We're in Vayomer Yahweh el Moshe, Re'eh, see, Nataticha Elohim leFaro. I've made you as a God to Pharaoh. Va'aharon achicha Yehiye Neviyecha. And you will be like God, Moses. Your brother will be like your prophet. So you think about Mashiach, you think about Messiah coming, and this idea, it's a radical idea to a lot of people that it shouldn't be as radical as it is. Because if we read our Torah, it wouldn't be as radical. But for whatever reason, it is. It's a radical idea when we say that Mashiach is Yahweh, that he is God. But this was already kind of like shadowed and has precursors in the Torah. This is one of the clearest precursors in the Torah. This one that's greater than Moshe, right? Moshe was already said to be a God. Right? Now, it's function, okay? But this foreshadowing is still there nonetheless.
Okay.
And so as this is a really important verse for explaining the identity of the Messiah. And the Messiah, Mashiach, the anointed one, he'll have to take over the job of Moses. He's also going to end up taking over the job of Aaron. He's going to end up taking over the job of Davidic leaders and kings. But early on, we can see here are their peculiar functions, and Messiah is going to have to step into that.
Okay, so then, no, it's not coincidence that Moses says, I'm uncircumcised on lips, and then Yahweh says, okay, is Yahweh responding to him by saying, then I will make you like God?
Yeah. So before we got the thing, I'm sending you an Aaron, but now we get a double back and they recapitulate it. They have the same narrative again. Yes, this is Yahweh's response to Moses saying, I'm uncircumcised in lips. It's almost like a fine. Now,
but he gets raised up.
Who?
Moses was the prophet originally.
Sure, but the function it's a, what do you call this? It's a concession. He grants Moses this concession, and that Moses would be able to be the one who represents the word, but Aaron will be the one to actually deliver it to Pharaoh.
Okay.
It's interesting. I think another sod reading would be, and maybe this is just bringing it to other texts. This is kind of similar to the idea that the people ask for a king,
right,
and a concession is given to them. This kind of
right.
This new role is created, which is also central to understanding the story of Mashiach and how we end up with Yeshua's peculiar relationship to the Davidic kingdom.
And you will speak all that I will command you, and Aaron your brother will speak to Pharaoh, and he will release the Israelites from his land. So essentially, Moses will tell the Israelites and then Aaron will tell Pharaoh.
אתה תדבר את כל אשר עצביך לאהרון אחיך. Yeah, so he'll command all that has been revealed to him, and Aaron, your brother, will speak to Pharaoh in your stead, basically in your behalf. V'shilach et bnei Israel me'artzo, and that he'll tell him to send them out of the land. So,
Okay.
Yeah. It's quite a funny picture, isn't it? The whole point of this idea of intermediaries, right?
Yeah.
Yahweh's on the throne in heaven, and then local Yahweh comes down, and it's supposed to just be a human. This human has a problem, so let's make another intermediary.
Yeah.
To get to a king, Pharaoh, who's an intermediary for his people, he's also an intermediary for it's like it's an interesting picture.
And I myself will harden the heart of Pharaoh, and I will make my signs and my wonders numerous in the land of Egypt.
Va'ani akshay elev paro v'hirbeti et otatai. Yeah, and I'll multiply or make numerous. So I will harden or make hard the heart of Pharaoh, and I will multiply or increase in number my signs, the signs of me, and my mofatai, the wonders or signs again.
Is it of me? The signs or wonders of me?
Yeah, they're mine. It's possessive. The signs of wonder, they're my signs of wonders, my signs.
Okay.
Ba'aretz Mitzrayim, in the land of Egypt. That's his plan. And now, a funny thing, just doubling back here, why would this idea of what is hard, that's going to be an important question as we discuss this. What does it mean that Yahweh's hardening the heart? Why is he hardening the heart? I want to give a little bit of a flavor of something that you just can't catch in English. Remember when Moshe brought the word, he obeyed, and he brought this word to the slaves, and did they hear him?
Mm-mm.
No, why didn't they hear him?
They were discouraged, and they were... You talking about, with yeah, just now? What we just read?
Yeah.
Because they were discouraged and like broken in spirit or something?
Yeah. What verse was that?
I think 10 or 9 maybe. Yeah, because of discouragement and because of hard work. So I'm not gonna...
9. Okay. Vaydaber Moshe ken el bnei Israel velo shamu. Yeah, they didn't hear him. They didn't listen to Moses. Mikotze ruach, from a small spirit, and then ume avodah kasha, hard labor. This overwhelming labor that is hard and hardened. And we're gonna have to end this soon. So
that's cool.
That's
good. We can get to 6. We're already on 4, and then that'll wrap up.
Okay, cool. I think there's a flavor of that idea that he is putting a crushing hard thing on them, right? And it's correlated to their spirit as well, which Lev and Ruach, they're sometimes interchangeable. I think there's a picture here of why he's going to make it hard on Pharaoh. Why he's going to, and it's not, another thing too is there's just so many assumptions about the mechanisms of Yahweh hardening Pharaoh's heart that just don't bear out in the text. So we've got to be careful to pay attention. Well, how does it happen in the text? And what does Yahweh do? And, is he saying, I'm going to go, like, whatever it means, how is he going to do it? Is he going to do it through instrumentation? Is he going to do it functionally? Is he going to do it through choices Pharaoh makes? Is he going to do it through putting something in front of Pharaoh that because Pharaoh has chosen wickedness and trained himself in wickedness, he can't resist? Is it going to be, because we imagine when it says I'll harden his heart, it's going to be going. Pharaoh's like, no, please, I want to love you, God.
Yeah,
it's like that's not what's going on at all. So we should probably try to pay attention to how this works. Okay.
And Pharaoh will not listen to you, and I will put my hand into Egypt and bring out my divisions and my people, the Israelites, from the land of Egypt with great judgments. And the Egyptians will know that I am Yahweh when I stretch out my hand over Egypt and bring the Israelites out from their midst. And Moses and Aaron did it, as Yahweh commanded them, so they did. And Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron was 83 years old when they spoke to Pharaoh.
Okay, it's funny, they translated it judgments.
No, I said it because...
Oh, you recognized it. Okay, great. It is. Okay, Shabbatim, great. Bamitzrayim, Bahotziati, according to their hosts, my people, the sons of Israel, from the land of Egypt, and large judgments. Verse 5, V'yadu Mitzrayim, and Egypt will know that I am Yahweh. So it's a funny thing. He wants his people to know I'm Yahweh, but he doesn't just want his people to know I'm Yahweh. He wants Egypt to know he is Yahweh. So that's another, here's another stud reading. When God's at work in the world, even though his people are peculiarly benefiting from it, he is still making a name for himself, and he has a desire to be known by the nations, even among the most powerful nation of his time, Egypt. He wants to be known in the greatest land.
Right.
Like, this is the most technologically advanced nation at this time, the most powerful. It's empire. So he wants to be known in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think is that it? Is that where, in Moses?
Yeah.
Vayas Moshe v'Haron ka'asher tzivah Yahweh. They did as he commanded him to do. And Moshe ben Shemanim Shana 80, and Aaron ben Shaloshu Shemanim. So I guess Moses is 80, Aaron's 83. Is that right?
Yep.
Debaram El Parah, and they spoke to Pharaoh. Okay, yeah, these are 80 years, man. 2 sets of 40. So Moses is 40 when he flees.
Right.
40 years later, he comes back to do this task. And he's going to die 40 years after this. Okay, more I guess we could say, but we're already almost to an hour, 51:40. Let's pray. Yeshua, bless this time. We thank you for your faithfulness. I pray that you would equip people to understand your scriptures. We thank you for your scriptures. Help us to respond and act these out in the church. Your people, would you just call us, would you call your people to yourself? Would you assemble them and call them out of the nations and draw them to yourself and help give them the ears to hear this message and release them from mighty powers and kingdoms seen and unseen. And I pray, Yeshua, that you would anoint equippers and people that you are raising up to bring these messages, apostles and prophets, evangelists, shepherds, instructors. And I pray, Lord, that you would bring your people to yourself, and we would get to witness today your mighty wonders and signs. You desire to be known, not just among your people, but also in the empire, in places of empire, and in the rest of the world. So make your name great through us. I ask this in the mighty name of Yeshua the Messiah. Amen.
Amen.
All right, dudes.